Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and today we're going to react to day number 5 of San Francisco 49ers training camp. It was the first day of pads, and let me tell you, it was a doozy. There was balls flying everywhere. There was dudes laying other guys out. It was an incredible day of 49er practice. Going to dive into Brock Purdy's dominant performance after having his child. Yes, Brock Purdy's now a father. CJ West breaking out and proving to be this team's best defensive tackle already. And Dee Winters may have already locked up that linebacker 2 job. Going to get into all that and more on the show today. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Give us that 5-star audio podcast review, and let's dive in to day number 5 of San Francisco 49ers training camp. And let's start things off at the top of my notes because, again, this is a day that every player is waiting for. They want the pads to be on. They want to hit somebody. They want the aggressive nature of football to finally be on display, and so do the fans, and so do the media. This is a day everybody awaits for every single offseason, whether it is during the draft, through OTAs, minicamp, and leading up into this day where the pads came on for the first time. You could feel the intensity from the sidelines. It was that special. And it just is one of the more unique days throughout the offseason program. Again, there was some bumping, there was some thumping, there was some home run touchdown plays, there was some incredible defensive efforts. And I want to start things off with the absences, though, because there were 5 key absences, not including guys on the PUP or the NFI list. You had no Juwan Jennings, who is battling that calf injury. I think that's pretty concerning. Look out for that as things progress during the training camp sessions. But no Juwan Jennings today. He didn't practice. No Jacob Cowing and no Bernardo Green. Both those guys have hamstring injuries. Teron Jackson, who was carted off the field during practice yesterday. He was flown and driven to Stanford Medical Hospital. He got released, though, this morning, I believe, or maybe late last night. But he's back with the team, not practicing, mind you, but at the team facility getting further testing. But good for him, discharged from the hospital with a neck injury, but doesn't seem to be too serious. So hopefully he continues to progress and do better. But good sign he is no longer in the hospital. And then defensive tackle Jordan Elliott did not practice today for an unknown reason. I want to say what's up to Papa J in the YouTube comments. How you doing, brother? And Niners Throwback says, hit the like and subscribe, faithful. Yes, hit that like button and let's subscribe. Moving forward here with Jordan Elliott not practicing today, again, for an unknown reason. Evan Anderson, Kalia Davis, and second-round pick Alfred Collins all got work with the first team to varying degrees. Get into more of Collins later on in the show. The team also released Quintez Cephas, wide receiver, who was signed to replace Jacob Cowing, with the hamstring injury. And they also made room for Eli Apple on the 90-man roster. Despite signing Eli Apple, who you would assume would get some reps first, second, third team, didn't really know where he would kind of find himself, although I think he'll be a camp body, nothing more, nothing less. Darrell Luter Jr. finally got some first-team run today, was in that mix with Trey Brown, Upton Stout, and Dallas Flowers, which was really good to see. Didn't do much, didn't see much, great or bad things, was more of a kind of invisible player out there, which sometimes is great, sometimes is bad, but worth noting that Darrell Luter Jr., with no Bernardo Green out there, did get some first-team reps for the first time during training camp. There was also no kicking competition today, so no Jake Moody, Greg Joseph stuff, and no Brant Boyer highlights, unfortunately, for you on today's show. But that brings us to a loaded and stacked list of takeaways because not only did pads come on, we got great Brock Purdy stuff. CJ West broke out. Dee Winters was shining. A lot of great cornerback play. Some highlights from Pearsall and other guys on the offense. But more importantly, we got 1v1s, our first look at the defensive line and the offensive line with the trenches with the pads on, and it was a gauntlet. It was just Herculean effort all the way around. There was some incredible things. There was some concerning things. So let's dive into my takeaways of training camp, starting off with the quarterback, Brock Purdy. And first and foremost, because family means everything, let's congratulate quarterback Brock Purdy and his wife Jenna on the birth of their daughter Millie. That's why he missed practice last week. We all kind of maybe assumed that was the case, but I want to give congratulations to Brock Purdy and his wife Jenna on the birth of their daughter Millie. Great to see. Always fun to have some of your favorite players or your quarterback or even your friends, really. When they have a kid, it changes everything for you. I don't have kids, but my friends do, and it really does change your mindset on things. So great for Brock. Christian McCaffrey had a kid too. So this team is growing up in front of our eyes, having children for the first time in their lives. So great for Brock and his wife, Jenna, and congratulations. That said, Brock clearly came back rejuvenated and showing off that dad strength because he had himself a day. Dare I say this was Brock's best practice of training camp and OTAs thus far. Pads came on, he had a baby, and he turned things up to the next level. He was 7 for 13 on the day. That may not scream to you great, but a lot of those completions or incompletions may have been, would-be sacks. So again, it's practice. I don't look too much into those things, but again, worth noting for you that care out there. He also did throw one interception on the day, again, but that may have been a sack. So does it really count? I don't know, but it's worth mentioning again. He was under duress all day too. It was Nick Bosa's, day on the defensive line. He was wreaking havoc over everybody. Burford, McKivitz, didn't matter. He was taking it to the tackles out there on the field during team drills. But Brock's one interception was a play in which he probably would have been sacked or would have been different if it actually counted during a game. But he threw a ball to George Kittle. It was deflected by Jason Pinnock, who again looks pretty good, getting a PBU on the day. And then the tip pass was caught by Dee Winters. So Jason Pinnock, wreaking havoc, creating some havoc and causing interceptions. Dee Winters looking great, getting a pick. But again, don't know if it counts, but worth mentioning for you that care. That said, Brock had I have 5 highlight throws for you where if you want to, keep to that 7 for 13 completion rate on the day, that means 5 of his 7 passes were like, holy crap. How did he do that? Where did that come from? Playmaking franchise quarterback style of stuff. So a really great day for Brock. The first one I think is probably the one most talked about on social media is the one to George Kittle. I don't know what happened, but Micah Williams got free. Just nobody was there in front of him. He was just rushing at Brock Purdy, and he has long, lengthy arms that are thick, and he had his hands up, and Brock somehow got around him, found Kittle on the outside for kind of a quick out pass, and then Kittle was off to the races for about 50, 60-plus yards, may have been a touchdown. That was like the biggest play of the day for Brock in the first-team offense, but I don't think that was Brock's best pass. I think Brock's best play of the day was the next one here, where we have come to know Brock, where he has this like sixth sense of awareness to know when his weak side's about to get blown up by an edge rusher. And he does that, signature spin move, and you go, whoa, where'd that come from? And it kind of all blindsided us and shocked us when he was a rookie. But now it's like, that's Brock Purdy's move. The blindside spin off an edge rusher, and he got Nick Bosa good today with that move. Bosa had him dead to rights. It was like, oh my God, watch out, Brock, he's dead. He spun off Bosa, got away from him, and then rolled to his left and found Kyle Juszczyk for about 15 yards on the sideline. It was an excellent play. It was a play where we have come to know Brock to make that pretty often now, and it was like, yep, that is a classic Brock Purdy. That was vintage Brock Purdy, if you will, on that play. The next one was a bootleg running to the right, and Purdy runs out there. Nobody's open. He's like, where do I go? Obviously, you can't hold up forever on the offensive line. So Purdy then resets his feet, looks to the defense and says, you know what? Screw it. And throws into the teeth of the defense, leading rookie Jordan Watkins open, and somehow found room again in the middle of the defense for a pretty big gain on the day. Again, a great throw from Brock Purdy. It was a special play again to reset himself, see his sights, and also trust his arm, where previous quarterbacks here under Kyle Shanahan wouldn't do that stuff. Brock certainly, although in practice, I get it isn't that big of a deal, but in practice today with pads on, it means a little more. Brock was really good, and a couple of plays were just like, whoo, how did he do that? Where did he see that? Like, how did he envision that play coming together? So good for Brock. Really showed off his ability to kind of, I don't want to say work well under pressure, but it was more of Brock continues to be, I think, one of the more underrated off-schedule quarterbacks in football. Now, again, it's not an actual game and you're playing your own defense, but these things matter. When you have a quarterback that can do these things, it keeps your secondary honest, your linebackers honest, and makes your offensive line play better and others around him play better. So a great day for Brock. The next pass was a more straightforward pass from Brock. There was no running around and whatnot on the play, but he found Russell Gage, who continues to be a really good receiver in training camp. Found him towards the sideline. I think there's a photo of this on either on Twitter or X or on San Francisco's Instagram, where you see Gage on the sideline, defender draped all over his back, and Purdy puts it right in the breadbasket where he can only get it. And Gage is a pretty big guy, so he can work with that against defensive backs, and Purdy just on the money, right in his hands, where only Gage had room to catch the football for about 25-ish yards downfield. It was just, again, Purdy looking pretty good on the day. Just tremendous quarterbacking, which is so fun to say because there was a stretch where we didn't have that. It was like, it's adequate. It's okay. And Purdy, the last couple of years or so, has just been a godsend, really. Last pick in the draft, doing plays like this stuff is not normal. And I know we have come to know Brock Purdy extremely well and love him and all that stuff, but I don't want the things he does that are special to just feel like, seen it, been there, done that. This isn't supposed to happen. And now he's getting, $53 million a year. Like, I don't want the specialness of Brock Purdy to wear off because we've seen it too much and too often. But Brock, again, was just in his bag today. He was handing out Christmas gifts like crazy. I don't know if that was the dad strength or he was just feeling lucky, but Brock was just like, he was torching this defense downfield on a continual basis, which again may scare you, but I think it's great to have that pressure on the defense who in their own right had a pretty good day. But Brock was just operating on a different level downfield. He also, and this may be Brock's, like the Bosa play to me is his best play of the day. This may have been his best pass of the day because we all know Fred Warner, right? Having a great camp, all-pro Fred. Probably at this point is on the path to be a future Hall of Famer alongside George Kittle. But Fred is the best linebacker in football. And getting a pass by Fred, around Fred, over Fred isn't easy. And so when you do it, you start to feel yourself and you start to go, whoa, like that's uncommon. And it shows how great Brock was during practice. He threw a freaking missile. And I'm talking about dart, just like you can hear the ball through the air. Just, it was like, oh my God. Like, and Brock isn't known for his arm strength, but he's really precise and he's accurate. Brock put everything he had. That dad strength was on display big time on this throw. Warner jumps up and just narrowly misses the fingertips. And that ball, it looked like there was nobody there. It was going to be an incomplete pass. Oh, Brock didn't see the guy. He's bad play, whatnot, right? Because when you throw towards the middle of the football field, it's a dangerous place to play in, right? So he throws it over Fred Warner's head. Narrowly misses the fingertips, which one is like, whew, he got away with that there. But then two, there's nobody in the space occupied where the ball is going. Then out of freaking nowhere, here comes Ricky Pearsall just running. It's like chariots of fire, just do, and like does a baseball slide into the catch to secure the football, and that got a resounding like, whoa, where did that come from? From the fans and the media, it was like, whew, like okay, like can you smell what Brock Purdy's cooking? Because my God, it smells delicious in the quarterback room. Again, there was that one pick. Doesn't matter much. I don't really like if Brock was forcing plays and it was happening over and over again, I would be more worried about it. But Brock was in his bag. It was a tremendous day for him. Again, borderline his best day, if not his best day. He was awesome. Brock was tremendous. Anyone telling you he wasn't is lying to you. He was just awesome today. So many highlight plays where, we talk about Brock, the stature he has, being a shorter guy, doesn't really get the love from the media. If the media could see this during game days, which sometimes you do, but if media came to practice, like, whether it's Nick Wright or others who maybe aren't the biggest Brock Purdy fans, I think they'd change their minds, or at least be forced to somewhat rethink their thoughts on Brock Purdy, because again, today was a day where we all said, yep, that is gunslinger Brock Purdy. And I've often, although they had different skill sets, often compared Brock to Brett Favre in a way where you say, okay, the arm strength really isn't comparable, but Favre just kind of said, screw it, I'm going to make plays and throw the football, or the more often comparison, Russell Wilson in his prime. Like, those things are pretty accurate. And look, Brock has to win the big one, obviously, but Brock is playing on a level of like reckless abandon, but somehow controlled. And that's like really great to watch during practice. And you hope at times that comes out during the games and you wanted to be somewhat reined in, but it's days like this where you say, that's why you give Brock Purdy $53 million. And it also just a day where it makes everybody else better, whether it's the defensive backs, the coaching staff, the defense, the offense. It just days like this where you say, Brock's playing like that, we're going to be in good hands going forward. So you hope that continues throughout training camp and the preseason, and once the actual games start, then too. But it's days like this where even if you weren't on the Brock Purdy bandwagon, or you say you shouldn't have paid him that much money, you start to feel a little bit more confident when you hear and you see days like this from the team's starting quarterback, and what seems like to be the quarterback of the future for the next 5 or 6 seasons out there in San Francisco. I do want to pause for 1 second, though, to kindly ask you to use our promo code right here on screen, 49ers Access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com, and you can save yourself $20 off your first purchase, whether it's Niner tickets, NBA tickets, MLB tickets, concert tickets. My brother went to the My Chemical Romance concert last night in LA. He used SeatGeek to save some money. Do it. Use it. It's free money. It's a discount. It is, again, the best way to help the show out alongside liking and subscribing, but it's a free gift to you, a free $20 off your first purchase. So go ahead and utilize that and save yourself some money at your next adventure. Excuse me. Wow, that was hard to say. Whenever you go out with the family or your friends. Moving along here on the show to the next quarterback, which I'm not going to lie to you, I often contemplate if I shouldn't even talk about Mac Jones, because, like, why does it matter? There's no quarterback competition. There is no QB battle. There's not even a quarterback battle for second place. It's all locked in stone. And I often contemplate, like, does it really matter? Should I even talk about it? But Mac has played well enough where it's worth mentioning through the first 5 days of training camp. He was 13 for 17 today. Some people had him 12 for 16, but he just looks really comfortable in the offense. He was much more check down happy today, where he was reliant on check downs, which I don't think would make Kyle Shanahan mad. That said, Jones continues to have some of the prettier passes of practice. Now, again, Brock was playing great today, and so he was outperformed by Purdy in a pretty massive way. But Mac Jones, I think, has put together a really solid stretch of practices that would make me confident if Brock was out, that Mac could step in and run the offense to a pretty pretty high degree. Again, I'm not saying similar to Purdy, but there'd be some pretty good football being had or played at the quarterback position with Mac Jones at the helm. There was a pass to Pearsall over the middle. It was just a laser, just boop, like, oh, got him. Wow, that was pretty. And the line kept moving from there. It was like, kind of a business as usual throw from Mac Jones. He also found running back Patrick Taylor Jr. down the field deep on the right side, which I don't know what's gotten into San Francisco's running backs, but all of a sudden they love catching the football. Like all these guys, CMC, Jordan James, Corey Kiner, Isaac Guerrero, Taylor Jr., all these guys are flashing these receiver level skills. And you're like, it's really shocking me of like, wow, I really wouldn't expect there to be this much of that as early as it is. But these running backs are getting downfield early and often, and the quarterbacks are hitting them at a consistent basis. Then he had probably his best pass of practice where you had no Juwan Jennings. So DeMarcus Robinson takes his spot. Looked pretty good today in the process. He had a beautiful pass, just like right into the breadbasket of DeMarcus Robinson on the right corner of the field. So again, not as good as Purdy, but a pretty solid day from Mac Jones, who I think has shown through 5 days that he can run the offense. And I think should make Kyle Shanahan pretty confident in him if he has to go to him at some point this season. No Juwan Jennings, already kind of talked about DeMarcus Robinson. No Brandon Ayuk, no Jacob Cowing. So our center focus on wide receiver then goes to Ricky Pearsall. Made his training camp debut yesterday, looked pretty good, but was limited in his reps during team drills. Today, it felt like it was like a full go for him. Pearsall was just tremendous. We talk about often, can he take that next step in year two? Can he replace Ayuk, or can he be one of the better receivers to work with Purdy and build that chemistry early and have a really big season for them in the absence of Ayuk or even Juwan Jennings now? Pearsall looked like a guy that could take that year two leap or is ready to take that year two leap today. Obviously, it's one practice, 2 practices, but it's been a really good showing from Pearsall thus far. Today, he was fighting through traffic consistently. He was making big plays, unafraid to work over the middle of the football field where you see some guys will alligator arm stuff. He's a smaller guy. The height is there, but he's a thinner receiver. He's not a Deebo Samuel or Jamar Chase or a CeeDee Lamb, but for a thinner guy, I guess you could say, Pearsall is fearless over the middle. He looked fast. He looked smooth. I already mentioned that play from Purdy to him, but I'm telling you, like, again, Pearsall just, it's hard to quantify. Like, there wasn't like an abundance of like amazing plays, but from what you saw from him and the plays he did get, he just looked really good. He looked healthy. He looked quick. He looked smooth. He looked fast. And this is a big year for him. Again, first round pick. Didn't play much last year or played the second half of last season. No Deebo Samuel, no Ayuk to begin the year. So he has to hit the ground running. And through 2 days, he's been really impressive to watch thus far. Had a few highlight plays. The big kind of baseball slide catch from Purdy was the big one. But an otherwise really kind of solid, smooth day for Ricky Pearsall. Moving along to the running backs, I already kind of talked about the running backs getting a very large chunk of the receiving game thus far. Again, downfield, whip routes, whatever it may be. Like, it's every single player in that room is getting open downfield out of the running back position. But I do want to highlight Jordan James, because Jordan James is a guy who I've talked about plenty of times already, but I think he's in the running and probably will win the running back 2 job. And I think the reason why is because of, yes, bigger body dude, more sturdy, the inside zone runner. But I do think he is ahead of, like, we all love Jordan Mason, right? But the big reason why Jordan Mason, who I think had deserved reps earlier in his career than he was given, the big reason why he didn't was because, 1, he wasn't a great pass blocker, and 2, he also wasn't a great pass catcher. And last year we did see some growth from him, but Jordan James is way ahead of where Jordan Mason was as a pass catcher at this point in his career. And I think he is, again, in lockstep with Guerrero and being the running back too right now. I want to see more from him as a runner. But what we have seen has been also really good. So today, his big play of the day was he got behind the entire defense and was like wide open. And he was working with the third team. Running backs do kind of rotate like receivers do, so I wouldn't look too much into that either. But with the third team, he was the primary running back today, and he got behind the entire defense, and he caught about 40, 50, maybe 60-yard would-have-been touchdown. Again, the receiving threats in the backfield continue to surprise me. We knew CMC, we knew Guerrero, but James and Kiner, all those guys are kind of budding into or looking like real threats as wide receivers, which is great to see because it adds more dynamics to the offense where you like Christian McCaffrey and you hope they can utilize Guerrero in that aspect. But if all those guys can do it, it does change the offense. Maybe not too much, but it makes a linebacker that would normally be covering a tight end have to or be forced to look at the guy in the backfield too. Or it also gives you another check down weapon to utilize if you're Kyle Shanahan saying, look, last year was just CMC. Late in the year, it may have been Isaac Guerrero, but Purdy was pretty worried about giving the football to Jordan Mason, whereas now all these guys look like viable check down options, and it's like, if the play isn't there, take a check down for 5 or 6 yards. That's more than half of the yardage it takes to get a first down. So I'm really impressed thus far with Jordan James and the running backs thus far. Johnny Dell's in the building. Appreciate you, Johnny. Johnny is incredible. The film work is awesome. If you haven't already, subscribe to Johnny Dell's Football Academy. He's a great dude, does great work. Love the content. It is off the charts. It is more than I could tell you here. So go to Johnny's channel, give him a like, and subscribe to his own content. He is just an awesome content creator and does great work. Appreciate you here. Dre Area Sports, same thing. Love Dre. You see him on the channel all the time. Go subscribe to him as well. Appreciate all those guys. And he also loves Johnny Dell's in the comments. Yes, Johnny's great. Dre is also great. Hope both you guys are having great Monday nights. But I do want to get to the important part of padded practice, that being the trench warfare. When the pads come on, your eyes, you may look towards the receivers and the defensive backs, and you can always glean some things away from the padded practices, but your eyes just go to the big monsters in the middle of the football field and say, how is this going to work itself out? Who wins today? And I tell you this, it was a beautiful day for the defense, mainly CJ West. I will tell you this, the run defense is looking pretty good. Now, again, it's one day, so what is that worth? We obviously will see, but for the effort that this team put into replacing a lot of the team's defensive linemen, drafting Alfred Collins and CJ West and Trent Williams, and again, they made it a point to attack and improve the run defense, and through one game, they were stonewalling some dudes, including Christian McCaffrey. So again, it's one day. Hopefully it can continue, but a really good showing from the run defense early on. But again, 1 versus 1s. Those are kind of the highlights of the day when the pads are on. And you saw Nick Bosa and Trent Williams lock horns once, and it got the oohs and the ahs from the fans and the media. Trent did beat and best Nick Bosa on that rep. They didn't lock horns after that, but Nick would also go on to have a very good day of his own, really keeping almost every quarterback under pressure throughout the entire day. But with the future Hall of Famer and the All-Pro going head-to-head, or Hall of Famer and Defensive Player of the Year going head-to-head, the Hall of Famer got the best of Nick Bosa in this day, but there'll be plenty of reps to go on in the future. That said, we got really our first clear look and our best look at CJ West, who is, I think Robert Saleh called him a fire hydrant, or built like a fire hydrant, where he just means he's short and stocky and just wants to get at you. He's got short arms, but he's a nasty little you-know-what inside the defensive line. And I think I kind of predicted during my hot takes video where CJ West will probably be, and I think will be, this team's best defensive tackle throughout training camp. And I'm not shocked where in the first day of pads, he just blew everybody away. He was showing off left and right. When I tell you this, he didn't lose a single rep during 1v1s. Now, yes, he was beating Matt Hennessy and Zach Johnson and Drew Moss and Connor Colby. And now you're all saying, well, Sterling, they're backups. I want to see him go against Purdy and Jake Brendel and Ben Barch and Nick Sakel. And I tell you this, CJ West, dare I say, he may have bullied Dominic Purdy in what is, I think, the highlight rep of the entire practice, from Purdy to Bosa to Pearsall, the defense. I think CJ West stole the show on the first day of pads. It was a holy crap. It was a quick one punch from West. Purdy was like, whoa, stunned him. Then he gave him the rip move, and it was off to the races. It was over. And Purdy is great in his own right, and he had a pretty good day in his own right too. But in this one instance, CJ West would just bang, strong punch, knock Purdy back, rip move, and it was over. And it was like, you're looking around being like, did everybody see that? Like, are you paying attention now? There's a reason why this dude was on everybody, including my guys list. You got to get this guy in camp. And man, West was tremendous. It was an awesome rep and just blew Purdy out of the water. And again, Purdy had a good day in his own right, but West was just having himself a field day, if you will, during 1v1s. There wasn't much, unfortunately, to talk about Alfred Collins, where I would tell you that West, to me, comes into the NFL as a much more refined pass rusher. And I do think that you are going to see West either be this team's third down pass rusher early in the year, because to me, you look at third downs, you got Bryce Huff on one side, Nick Bosa on the other. This team really doesn't have a bona fide pass rushing defensive tackle, where in previous years it was Javon Hargrave, or last year was supposed to be Malik Collins. They didn't work out right, but CJ West immediately sticks out as the guy. And if you can move Mike Williams inside, that's really not a bad third down pass rush. So I think that's where my mind is leading me in regards to third down pass rush. But that is because West has become, I think, my favorite defensive player over Alfred Collins, over Micah Williams, at least in this draft class, because the upside maybe not as high as those players, but I just think he screams like that guy's fun to watch what he can do. And I think he will be one of the steals of the draft this year. But speaking of Alfred Collins, I know there will be some people that say it wasn't a great day for Collins, where 1v1s, he didn't perform well. It was kind of a mixed bag. I would tell you that Alfred Collins' skill set really doesn't favor him in 1v1s, where that's more, you can utilize your strength to bully guys, but if guys have a pass rushing repertoire where Bosa and CJ West and those guys can win reps continually, even Micah Williams, who I think is a very strong and should be a starting caliber player for San Francisco, even he doesn't have a expansive, way to get to the quarterback. And the same kind of goes for Alfred Collins, where he's a big dude that wants to eat up space. And I think his skill set favors more of team drills, where he has the entire offensive line, the entire D-line next to him to clog up lanes, take up double teams, eat up space for guys like West, like Bosa and Mike Allen Huff off stunts. And so I really wouldn't make too much of Collins during 1v1s. That said, yes, I think his body needs to get, kind of ready for the NFL. He's not going to be bad, and I'm not saying his body's bad. I'm just saying that he's young, he's a rookie. With the NFL conditioners and the strength guys and their coaches, he'll get better and stronger and quicker and faster. But The one big concern with Collins has always been, going from his tape at Texas to now, is that pad level. When you're 6'6", it's really hard to get low to the ground, and it's really easy to want to raise up out of your stance, and Collins does do that a lot. And so when you do that, you're giving Pooney, Brendel, Zakel, whoever's playing the interior offensive line, you're giving him a higher chance to get inside your pads and push you back or kind of keep you at bay. And I think that's the one thing of Collins where I would really need Kocurek to work with him. If he can get his pad level low, he's so freaking strong and big. Like, that is like the one aspect where I say, man, if you can just fix that, you'll see more wins, not only in 1v1s, but also during team drills and during the actual games. Moving along to San Francisco's first round pick, that being Mykel Williams. Mykel, similar to Alfred Collins, again, bigger guy. He's really strong. He has the length. He'll get inside your pads and keep you away. I thought it was a well-rounded performance from Mykel today. Did good in team drills, did good in 1v1s. I think the one knock on Mykel's game has always been, again, going back to last year at Georgia and now coming into the NFL, and he told the media himself this, or themselves this, that he needed to, kind of expand his pass rushing skill set, and he knows that. Where sometimes there's rips, sometimes there's just long arm bull rushes, but there really isn't spin moves, there isn't swipes and all that stuff, or targeting certain shoulders and whatnot, where you do want Mykel to grow. Hence why you want to see him with Bosa and Trent Williams. But I think he looked pretty good. He showed a consistent ability to get back in the backfield. So there was some good signs there. I think if you can get Mykel to be more comfortable playing on the exterior, on the edge, compared to playing inside, because right now, Mykel, you can tell, looks so much more comfortable playing on the interior, where that does fit his skill set better. Strong, lengthy, can get inside a guard's pads, where guards usually have shorter arms. They usually, can, take the bull rush, but Mykel has longer arms. He can reach inside their chest faster than, say, an offensive tackle like Trent Williams, who has long arms. I think, Mykel will be playing the interior more than we expect, and looks a lot more comfortable on the interior than playing on the edge right now. So that's equally as good as it is. You want to see Mykel play the edge, get more comfortable out there, because although I don't think it'll hurt San Francisco in year one, because you have Bryce Huff, you have Yetur Gross-Matos, you have Samuel Kawanu, like, those guys will help pick up the pieces there. But I do think over time you want to see Mykel be able to translate his confidence from the interior equally as to the exterior, but not shocked by his day whatsoever, and not shocked to learn and see that this team's third down pass rush is probably going to feature Mykel and West on the interior. I also think Bryce Huff, who hasn't had the best training camp, been pretty quiet, hasn't racked up would-be sacks or pressures. I think with the pads on, you really saw his speed around the edge today, which is really nice to see. He beat Austin Pleasance and Spencer Burford a couple times today during 1v1s and team drills. So I think the more he kind of integrates into the defense with Bosa, the third down stuff, I don't think he'll play much outside of third down, barring injury, but it's just nice to see somebody that can get to the quarterback in about 3 or 4 different ways, has speed, because it changes the game. Like, I think of, if you have Mykel Williams on the outside on base downs, early downs, and he's just smacking the crap out of or out of a tackle on the edge, and you wear that guy out, he gets exhausted, boom, here comes Bryce Huff, with the speed moves, bing, bang here, one cut and he's gone to the quarterback. It just makes your defense more dynamic and gives you a more well-rounded attack to the quarterback on the defensive line, where last year it was non-existent whatsoever. And so now with Huff and Mykel, I think you are seeing kind of the mix and match of, like, this defense is coming together. It's early, but you can see, like, the plan in place is there, and you can see the vision they're putting together. On the offensive side, obviously Trent, beat Nick Bosa. Always a good day to watch that. But thought Dominic Purdy did pretty good against the defensive lineman, namely not CJ West, but did good against Evan Anderson and Kevin Givens in 1v1s. Also thought Nick Zakelj, who I'm not super high on, but San Francisco scouted him for like 6 years and all that stuff, and really hasn't become the player they want him to be. But he's getting all of the left guard reps with Ben Barch out, and he's kind of taking those in stride. I think, Zakelj, again, make of him what you will. His anchor held up today against Kevin Givens and Kalia Davis, who were both getting first team reps. So a good showing from the guards, or the first team guards today, of the San Francisco 49ers. I want to move on to the second group of the defense, that being Dee Winters. We obviously know Fred and the linebackers. Fred's great. He's an all-pro. Fred is Fred. He was everywhere today, making plays, doing his thing. But can I say I told you so yet? Can I say, yeah, what'd you expect? Because Dee Winters may have already locked up the linebacker 2 job. He's got to stay healthy. But my goodness, man, like, it's so refreshing to see a youthful group of defensive players stand out so much and so often on the field, where you had Lenore, he's gotten better. You had Ufunga for a short period of time. But that's what made San Francisco's rise to prominence with Shanahan in this regime so awesome to see. It was young guys everywhere blossoming into superstars. Kittle and Greenlaw, Warner, and Jimmy Ward grew up with Saleh as the DC, and and other guys as well. But you saw younger guys blossom. You saw on the offense too, Ayuk and Debo and other players as well. But to see Winters and West and Michael and we'll get to Upton Stout soon, but Upton Stout to all flash on day one of pads, man, like that stuff is just really nice to see and awesome. It's so fun. Dee Winters was just, when I talk about sideline to sideline, I really mean sideline to sideline. Dude was making plays. We need to end the Winters and Martin conversation of who's linebacker 2. It's over. It's over. And I get it. It's early. It's day one of pads. Let's not overreact here. But I walked in thinking that, and it was going to be really hard to change my mind. And today more cemented me in the Dee Winters camp, riding that bandwagon to the end, because Winters just was flashing potential of like a really good linebacker. Now, again, I'm not going to say he's Dre Greenlaw, but the way he moves, how fast he is, the way he plays, you can see that diamond in the rough they saw at TCU coming out of like, oh my God, like a little bit more, honey. I'm almost there. Like, come on, like a little bit more. And I think that, I've already talked about the Pinnock PBU into Winters interception, but Winters was bringing the hits too. He laid out Isaac Guerendo, just pop right in the shoulder, knocked him to the ground. You could hear it. It reverberated off of the stadium. It was like, oh my God, like everyone's eyes looked, everyone said, oh, wow. It was like, it got an instant reaction. You could hear it ringing through your ears of like, is Guerendo okay? Like, he got popped in a big way. That got a big reaction from the crowd too. He also, which Guerendo has 4.3 speed. Don't forget that. He chased down Guerendo, running to the sideline for a tackle for loss, if you will. And that just got a roaring applause from Robert Saleh. Ran over there, smile on his face, dapped him up, and it was like, yeah, this is the guy. Yeah, I get it. You like Nicholas Martin. Winters has had some durability problems. Fred's getting older, albeit you sign him to a brand new deal. And you want 3 guys in that room, because if Winters continues this play into the season, he's going to get paid. Like, he will eventually get paid. Now, again, that's a big, down the road conversation, but in year 3, he's flashing to look like a really, really good player. But that said, it's really good to have Martin there. You like Bethune, you like Graham and all those guys, but like Fred Warner's here and Dee Winters is like a little bit lower than him. Then it's kind of everybody else. Dee is ascending up that linebacker room talent chart, if you will, for me. Man, Papa J says here in the YouTube chat, I think this is going to be the best draft picks we had in a long time. I think so too. I think it also has to be. Like, this team needs good draft picks, and I think they took 8 of them, so they kind of gave themselves a higher chance to hit on these guys. But I really would not be shocked if West and Michael and Upton Stout become better players than Alfred Collins. But even Collins as a base down run defender, I think, can be really good when it's all said and done. Joseph Ehrenberg says here in the YouTube chat as well, nothing wrong with a 3 linebacker, or with linebacker 3 being close to linebacker 2. Great backups and depth is what this team needs. I completely agree. That said, again, I do think it's Fred at the top, D below him, but then a kind of a bigger gap between Martin and those guys. But I think Martin will play better once the actual preseason games come, and once and as we progress into more padded practices. But on day one, D was just another level of fun. Just like, yep, that's an exciting player. Yep, that gives me hope. Like, that right there, the coverage skills are already great, but good run stops, flying around, making plays. It's like, that's what this team didn't have last year with Devondre Campbell. And we were all saying, why isn't Winters playing? Why isn't Winters playing? He wasn't healthy. But if he's healthy, there's a good player in there somewhere in Dee Winters. And I think it's showing itself right now. He looks tremendous. Niners first takes. Aaron, again, darn you, but I appreciate you. He says, with the $5 super chat, don't ban me, but I came here to see your glorious hair. Unfortunately, I had to help my wife. She's a teacher, 2nd grade. She's setting up her classroom, so it was a, honey, get up early. We're setting the classroom up. And I was like, what? What's going on? Put the hat on and said, this is going to be it all day. So you don't get my hair, but you get my camo Niner hat, Aaron. So maybe tomorrow, maybe later in the week, but no hair today. But you get my hat. Hopefully it's good enough for you on the YouTube chat right now and live stream. But let's continue, kind of talking about and kind of up-talking this Niners rookie class, because Upton Stout, like Dee Winters, was balling out with the pads on. We have often seen when pads are on, you see those feisty, physical cornerbacks take their game to the next level. You saw it with Bernardo Green last year, where once the pads came on, it was, oh, I get it now. When Lenore put the pads on and he grew into a better player, you saw, okay, like, he's a feisty SOB that wants to get his hands dirty. And that same thing, I think, can be said, and I think will be said throughout training camp in regards to Upton Stout. He balled out today. He was physical in the running game, getting run stops. He was sticky in coverage throughout the entirety of the practice session, no matter who he was guarding. There was a play early in team drills where he's playing nickel with the first team, or it may have been second team, may have been, forgive me. But he's playing nickel and he gets to Grendo early in the box and just bam, plays over. Like, San Francisco, if you're going to have a nickel back, you got to be a really good run defender. Green's that towards the outside, Lenore's that towards the outside, but having that guy closest to the ball carrier usually and to the quarterback, if that guy is a good run defender, it does change your defense a lot. So to see Stout have the instincts, get to the ball carrier, who again has 4.3 speed in the box, and make a play is good. But later, and I think this will be a lot of people's takeaways from Stout throughout training camp, and hopefully he displays this during the preseason trio of games they have, but he is sticky as all hell in coverage. To be fully transparent with you, I did not know much about Upton Stout during the pre-draft process. And when it happened, I was like, Who? Who's this guy? I didn't know. But after the pre-draft process, after the draft, dove into his tape and just learned that he's a feisty dude that again wants to do the dirty work. And I think you've heard some K1 Williams comparisons. They're similar in that way of like K1 was sticky in coverage, wanted to get his hands dirty and play a more physical brand of football. Stout to me is more like Lenore in that right than um, K1, but K1 was great in his own right too. But think of Stout as a very younger Lenore. So I'm not saying he'll be Lenore, but I'm just saying like there's really some straight line comparisons to those players. But there was a play where it looked like Pearsall was running somewhat of a comebacker, and Purdy's playing quarterback. Purdy sets, throws it his way. And when I tell you that Upton Stout stuck with Pearsall the entire route through the cutback, was on his hip. Purdy throws the ball to the outside, as you should as a quarterback, away from the defensive back. Stout dives out, gets the PBU, locks up the play, gets the pass breakup, and all you hear is the defense yelling and screaming. And it's like, that was a tremendous play. So it's just two plays to kind of highlight for you. But early on this far, Stout has been, one, getting first team reps at nickelback, which is always great to see. But two, just making plays. Like if you make plays, you will play. Who would have thought, right? And you're seeing Pinnock and Stout and other guys that are younger, West, and those guys make plays. And if you do that, you will play. And Stout has been doing that not just today, but in previous practices as well. So a great padded practice for Dee Winters and Upton Stout on that defense. I also want to highlight and shout out two other defensive backs to end today's show. The first one being Dallas Flowers. I cannot say enough about how well he has transitioned into the defense through 5 training camp days, but also how well he has played throughout the entirety of training camp thus far. We need to nickname this man Clamps because he is locking dudes down. He is physical in coverage like Stout and other defensive backs on the roster, but there was a play they showed, I think it's on Instagram, maybe on Twitter. I think it may have been on Instagram, though, that he is guarding rookie Jordan Watkins 1v1, and they're just, it's quarterback, receiver, defensive back, best man win. Give us your best moves, right? And when I tell you that Dallas Flowers was on the hip of Jordan Watkins the entire time, like it felt like the rep was over before it even began. Like Watkins got to the corner, but like Flowers was like right there. Then the ball goes up. It wasn't a high pass ball, so you can say it wasn't the best pass. I don't know who the quarterback was again, but it wasn't a highly thrown ball, so that would have helped Watkins, but I digress. But Flowers turns around, gets his head around, bats the ball kind of up, but it was like the way he hit it deflected kind of in front of him, and it somehow had the awareness to re-find the ball and secure the interception. And it was like, damn, like, wow, that was a play. So, veteran guy who I think I mentioned with Green being healthy, you'd probably see Lenore and Green and then Stout or Brown playing nickelback. But I do think Dallas Flowers has played well enough to be not just in the conversation for one making the roster. I think he's going to do that. But I do think he should be in the conversation to maybe be the team's quarterback 3, where you have Lenore, Green, Stout, whoever's playing nickel. I think Flowers may be this team's number 3 outside cornerback over Trey Brown if Brown doesn't win the nickelback job. I think he's been that good. Now, again, it's early again, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. A long ways to go, but Dallas Flowers, man, he's looking really good through 5 days. And finally, the last shout out of the day goes to the UDFA, Jacob Robinson. Back to back days with a pass defense, a PBU, continues to impress. Yes, he's still working with the third team, so make of that what you will. Like he's facing Tanner Mordecai and, kind of the lower level receivers on the roster. And unfortunately, you are seeing some of, no Ayuk, no Jennings, and no Cowing. So it's a thinner receiver group. So again, take that what you will. But he's looked really good. I think he's, he locked up Pearsall yesterday. And today, again, gets a PBU, continues to impress, and I think is worthy of having a consecutive show of being shouted out on the podcast. He's looked really good so far. I'm not sure if he makes the roster, but I think early on he's done enough to certainly be in that conversation. And again, the more you stand out, the more people take notice and the more the coaches and company are going to, kind of vie for you to make the roster once training camp and cut down day come. Joseph Ehrenberg says here in the YouTube comments, wait, wife? I thought you said I was the only one, Sterling. Well, Joseph, I'll tell you this. If you, one, it's a great comment, but two, yes, I am married over a year now. But Joseph, I'll tell you this. My wife doesn't have to know about us. It's okay. It's okay. Um, uh, Honestly, I was telling my wife about the whole Christian Wilkins stuff, where I guess the report is that Wilkins made a teammate uncomfortable in the Raiders locker room because he kissed an unknown player on the forehead. I guess that's uncomfortable. Again, people are different and people are comfortable with certain things, others aren't. I certainly wouldn't care about that. But I was telling my wife, I was like, if Christian Wilkins can come to San Francisco, I will walk around and he can kiss my head whenever he wants to. Bring him home. He can live with me. I don't care. If he is prone to kiss a person's head, a man's head, I will offer myself as tribute, Katniss Denning style, whatever the heck her name was from the Hunger Games. Like, brother, whatever that freaking whistle is, I'm up for grabs, Christian. You want to come to San Francisco? My head is all yours, brother. So, and my wife gave me the, what's wrong with you? Kind of look, and I was like, I just want a Super Bowl, whatever it takes. But it does seem like there's more to that story than just that. But that's the Adam Schefter version of it. I know Mike Florio said that is not what happened. So there's more there. But I was telling my wife, and she was like, I'm rethinking our entire marriage. So, Joseph, there may be hope for us one day if my wife gets sick and tired of my antics. But right now, I am locked up in a happily married relationship with my wife of 1+ year now. But that's all I have for you today on the show. Day 5 of training camps in the books. Day 1 of pads is wrapped up, and it was a freaking show for the ages for Dee Winters, Upton Stout, and CJ West, and Brock Purdy. Let's hope that continues tomorrow before an off day on Wednesday. It was a great training camp day 5. You can all stay tuned. Tomorrow, back again reacting to training camp day number 6. Hopefully we get some more action with the pads and some more big young names making plays on the practice field. But that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show. Still shooting for 100 audio podcast reviews by week 1 of the regular season. So if you can help me out there, I really appreciate it. Click that link down below in the description to get your podcast, or to search 49ers Access wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google. It doesn't matter. 5 stars. Easy peasy, free, and it helps the show out in a big way. You can also follow us on social media at 49ers.access is the Instagram, 49ers_access is the X or Twitter, and you can use that promo code right here, 49ers access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Training camp tomorrow, back at it right here tomorrow as well. Don't miss that. But as always, my name is Sterling Bennett. And until next time, stay faithful.